Mussorgsky is a very special thing in the whole history of music. He has an enormous talent to combine classical music with folk music. So this was a group of composers, together with Rimsky-Korsakov and others, the so-called Mächtige Häuflein. They tried to make a real Russian music, independent from the rest of the classical music. If you look in the group of composers, they are together there. Mussorgsky is far further in the direction of modern music. It starts to take over the idea with Leitmotive as Wagner did. Every person has a certain music in this piece, and every situation as well. It's very interesting. And then his whole harmony thinking is far from the Romantic period. It is already in the beginning of the 20th century. This is a big step forward to the music of the 20th century. But his problem was not only the alcohol, his problem was he couldn't make a good instrumentation. So we don't have the two operas, they are actually not Mussorgsky instrumentation, and this is the weak point. And especially with this piece, he never heard this piece. He died in 1881, and he was only 42 years old, and the piece was not finished. 30 years after the death of Mussorgsky, we had a new ending and new instrumentation from Diaghilev, Stravinsky, Rimsky-Korsakov. And in the 1930s, the first piano score came on the market. And again, 30 years later, in 1960, Shostakovich made a new instrumentation. And he used the piano score and made his own sound, typical Shostakovich sound, what feels for me personally absolutely fitting, much more than the more romantic Rimsky-Korsakov, with the hard language of Mussorgsky. And because Shostakovich's instrumentation is much more sharp, really very clear, not romantic. And the whole piece is actually really not romantic. It's an absolutely modern piece. So finally, the premiere of this version, it was in 1960. So we have this piece actually not such a long time. It's still a new piece. It's not so often performed. The story is in the 17th century, but Mussorgsky, he wrote the libretto as well, was not interested to make it historical, completely correct. So he used what's happened before Tsar Peter and the whole tension in the Russian community. And he said, I want to represent the past for the future. It's more interesting to show that we are actually, after 200 years, not further. It is still the same story. And if I look now, 120 years further, and we are not further as human being. And this is what this piece makes it so for our time. It's not a historical piece. Mussorgsky wanted to show how people can manipulate, how the fanaticism from religions. I mean, you had the last century this same in America. It's not something it's 300 years ago. This fanaticism is one of the biggest point of all the wars, even now. And on the other hand, he was interested to bring the Russian folk music in the opera. And this combination makes this opera so special, that in the 19th century more composers are going back to the sources from their own background, their own music from their own country. It's in Hungarian, it's in Czech, in Germany. The composers are really interesting to study this music and to build from this point music that a bigger group of people can understand and feel as their own music. So it's a sort of naturalism, but for me not a bad one. It's just to show this is our culture, and we are not forgetting this culture, we are using our culture, and this makes us strong. The end of the piece, Shostakovich used only what Mussorgsky left. It was just one folk song. This is what we have from Mussorgsky as the end. But it's not composed, it's just marked this folk song. And Shostakovich used this and make a big ending from this folk song. But you see it's the importance of the folk songs in this piece, and therefore the chorus plays the main role.